views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to writers and editors, journalists, photographers, filmmakers. Tonight, we're going to talk to app creators, anybody who puts anything out in the borough of the Bronx. And we're also going to talk about kind of a new way of looking at the world. And we're going to start off with two guys from the Bronx. So hello to Platon Levitski and Victor Chu. Nice to have you both with us. Now, let's get it right. They are the creators of the Tito App, which actually had a bit of a development phase before it got to this COVID-19 phase. Gentlemen, nice to have you with us virtually. Let's talk a little bit at first about who you are. Victor, I know you for many years. You've been on our program talking about the films you've made. You're, of course, a wonderful news photographer for many years, and I've known you through that. Tan is a new friend. Tell me, Victor, why don't you start and tell me how the two of you got together and got this project going?
Sure. We actually met about 10 years ago. We had the same English class in CUNY Baruch. Found out that we actually...
Ain't that the way? Isn't that how it always happens? That's great.
Right. And we found out that we lived a block away from each other in Morris Park, the Bronx.
Right, so we lived a block away from each other. We never knew each other until we met in English class freshman year of college. Yeah, exactly. I said, hey, I should know this guy. He's my neighbor.
What would the interests were? Now, I know, Victor, you were a photographer, and let's bring it right up to date. What got us to the Tito app?
Well, the Tito app is an app that, what brought us to the Tito app, right?
Yeah, so
that's it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll grab this one up.
Yeah.
Victor and I, we would discuss business ideas a lot, and Victor would often call me and he would say, "Hey, I got this great idea." And he called me once. He said, "Hey, I'm a photojournalist at the Daily News, and I got this idea to source photos directly from the people who are at the scene of a breaking news event. That way, people can just take it through their phones and sell it directly to the media." I remember saying,
let me just interpret that for 1 second. What that is understanding the way media was changing, because traditionally a newspaper would hire people like Victor and others to take photos. But now that everybody's got one of these, it was a matter of saying, well, wait a minute, we can even do a better job if we bring in the general public, because they're like really right in the guts of a fire or, even good news, as a party or a parade. Go ahead.
That's right. And Victor told me, and I said, Victor, that's a terrible idea. And I called him back 10 minutes later, and I said, why don't you tell me one more time, what is it that you're thinking? And that was, I think, kind of the birth of Tito.
So I'm going to move forward a little bit. So basically what you did was become a de facto agency as well as a generator of people to submit photographs and potentially sell them, because of course if they're picked up by news people, they would have to be paid to be used. And then of course we're in the middle of this horrible pandemic, and let's talk about how you morphed. When was that, by the way, the creation of that original launch?
It was several years ago, and we didn't have an app, Gary. We just had an idea and a couple of sketches on a piece of paper.
Wow.
And so earlier, I'd say about a year ago, we started building the app very slowly. We were both working full-time jobs and kind of inching it along. And we left our full-time jobs this summer to really build Tito and try to get it into the market by the summer. And then a couple of weeks ago, right, the world changed. It changed completely. And so
then the idea was to use what had happened and find out how it could, for want of a better pun, apply to the app, and that's where we're at now.
That's right. That's right. We had some of the technology already built in. And the app has two important things. It has a map that shows you where the important things are. You know, today this means where the testing centers are, where you might be able to get a meal, where a store you expect to be open is closed, and vice versa, and anything that people need for COVID-19. And the other thing that the app has is a feed. So you for yourself can see through other people's eyes what's really going on. Say you see what the shelves look like, you see what the lines look like, you see what the human stories look like.
And so what you did was take that concept of with the newfangled stuff, the newfangled gizmos that we all have, our cell phones, and say, well, wait a minute, aside from doing news photos, let's do COVID-19 photos. And so what the app now contains is, I thought, really some fascinating pictures of what it's really like to living through this in the Bronx, in the city, in the state, the worldwide. Tell me what's your point of view, Victor?
Thank you. We are all, this app can be used anywhere, but we're focused in New York City, the five boroughs, and maybe a little bit of surrounding areas. And, as Platon said, we have the technology, we have the infrastructure to have these two features, the map and the feed. And people have been submitting very wonderful, insightful and helpful photos of their experiences of their experiences throughout the day, and how their life is, and things
and how it's been changed, and all the things we're seeing in some cases when you talk about traffic, not seeing. Victor, you're a photographer,
right.
and I know you by trade. Talk to me about from a news photo perspective, kind of like what's good and what's not good about, mostly what's good about what you're seeing. To me, there's a reality of this. And by the way, we're recording this virtually. They will be editing in a lot of the photos. We can't do it live given the limits of the technology. So people are seeing some of the photos. But tell me a little bit about your perspective on what are we getting out of this that maybe great news photographers like you don't always deliver.
I mean,
and I don't mean to criticize you.
No, don't worry about it. Me and Platon have always been discussing what makes a great photo, and we have debates. But I think the most important thing is to have the best content to inform and keep people aware and safe during this crazy time like this.
There was one photo I saw of I think a woman with a mask, looked like in Midtown somewhere, with like the normal daily steam coming behind her,
right.
Which was such an ironic photo because, you know what, on a normal day, probably is not a bad idea to wear that mask. And of course, now everybody's wearing it for the COVID-19. Platon, did you want to weigh in on the question that I asked?
Just want to add to what Victor said. I think the shots, the way to describe them, they're very candid. I find myself, when I look at Tito, I find myself it being, I don't know, a really good source for me personally as a regular person to understand what the world outside looks like right now. The government officials are pretty direct with telling us to stay indoors. So the only way I can really tell about what's going on is I look at these candid shots of people going about their day or going about their day differently or keeping themselves inside in isolation. I learned that, for example, restaurants and bars are being boarded up right now. And I never would have known that because I don't go outside. And these are the kind of candid, very real-time shots that we're seeing. And that enables us to put these important events on the map and let the communities know.
After we finish the Bronx Buzz this evening, I took a photograph of people waiting on line outside a supermarket. And it was a crowded line, but crowded, of course, the operative word, because they were all like feet apart.
Yeah.
And that is a situational photo for what's going on right now. Let's, before we run out of time, let's just get all the contact together. Now, if you go to like the App Store and just look for Tito or Tito App, you can just download it. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, right now we're in beta only only for Apple phones. only for the iPhone. So you'll have to go to our website, titoapp.org, and download via the link there. You'll have to install an app called Test Flight, which is the official Apple beta testing software. And once you have that, it's very easy to use.
Very easy to use. I was looking at a URL here. It's www. I guess they can put it on the screen. titoapp.org/iOS. And eventually there will be an Android a version of this.
That's right. That's right.
You know, to me, among the things that I admire about it and that speaks the Bronx to me is two guys who believe in a concept. And in this day and age where it's hard, especially it's going to get tougher to get lashed up to companies, you feel like our ideas are strong enough. And it's the Bronx thing, and you're doing it with, in our perspective, of course, as Bronx people. I think it's great. I think what you're doing is great. And now when we need it more than ever, people are so isolated. Here's a chance to share what we're looking at. So let's see. You go to www.titoapp.org. Anything else that I didn't mention that you guys want to let us know? I mean, you want to just urge people to participate, I guess.
I think the things I want to, make sure that people know is, one, yeah, you can download the application with a private link on our website, but it's very important for people to follow the directions from government officials. What we don't want is people going out of their way and kind of violating the guidance to go outside.
To take a photo?
Pictures.
Yes, don't do that.
We want people to stay home.
Don't do that.
Let the news, let social media, let our application show you what's going on out there.
Yeah, and bring people together in this way. Great. What a great way to summarize this. Platon Levitski and Victor Chu, thank you so much. Stay in touch. Come back. We'll show more photos. This is what we got to be doing in the Bronx, and we appreciate the virtual program today, and we'll certainly see you around town. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Squad TV from the Bronx, New York City.
I'm your host Supreme.
Join us as we visit events interviewing music artists, TV, and movie celebrities. We'll be stopping by restaurant hotspots around the city, trying out a variety of dishes, also checking out food festivals. Tune in Sundays at 11:30 p.m. in the Bronx on BronxNet TV, Omni Channels, Verizon Fios 34, and Optimum 68. Streaming online, BronxNet.tv.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz, and we're all in our homes, and that's where we're supposed to be, and in an unusual locale, but the same circumstance in terms of what our task is. We say hello to my buddy Jarrett Murphy, who's the editor of City Limits. Nice to have you with us. You and I were enjoying the fact that we see reporters and politicians, and we get a little little snapshot of their home. So nice to see her. You're in the living room of your home.
This is a home office.
A home office. Well, I'm in a similar. It's my son's former bedroom, and so here we are. Anyway, listen, these are very strange and difficult times for all of us. Talk about the city limits in general. Let's just talk about the structure of it. You had to lay off people. You got people working. I mean, like we are in media, we're all working. Where are you guys at? What's going on?
So as of March 12th, we've all been working from remotely. I would say from home, but obviously reporters are sometimes at home and sometimes out in the street doing reporting. And we did that because, that feels like a long time ago now, but it seemed like the sense of risk was building, and there didn't seem to be any sense for us, who are the most mobile employees in the world, can work from anywhere, for us to be coming in on the subway, sitting in a crowded office, potentially infecting each other, people around us, the folks in our personal lives. So we've been working remotely since then. And our focus has been in this massive crisis on what's the impact on the most vulnerable. So we've been talking about detainees on Rikers, homeless people, senior citizens, undocumented immigrants, the folks who are always the most vulnerable in this particular time are that much more so. And that's been our main focus, as well as trying to keep up to date just with the larger story, the number of cases and deaths, the developments in terms of executive orders and the president's moves and the mayors and governors, which, as you know, has been quite a bit to keep up with.
Without a doubt. Do you find that you're able to put out similar volume that you would on normal times? And I will tell you, on BronxNet's side, and I'm not in charge of measuring what we're doing, but there is a ton of really good content coming out of BronxNet, because I think as reporters and as people in media, you recognize there's something out here, and it's our responsibility to put it out. So are you getting the volume that you used to get?
Yeah, I mean, more so. I think, Gary, normally we cover in a normal week, 6 to 10 different topics. Now we're all on one topic. All our staff, even some of our business staff, has gotten in the reporting just because they're in a neighborhood too and observing things and getting pictures. Freelancers have come out of the woodwork to say, hey, can you put me to work? As you said, I think all reporters recognize this is a very important story, probably the most important story maybe of our lives so far, at least in my case. Hopefully the scariest story we'll cover. And so, yeah, I've been struggling to keep up with the volume. And as is the case for many people out there, balancing working at home with also being a full-time parent at home and having two kids, one a teenager, one a 9-year-old, who needs some company, more so the 9-year-old than the 16-year-old, and some direction on the homeschooling. And so kind of juggling between having 8 stories to edit and, a game of baseball to play has been challenging, but also it's been, I must say, kind of rewarding to spend time with the kids and to be getting such great work from my reporters. I'm really proud of what we've done.
Once we get past, you mentioned the scary part of it, I think we're all feeling that. And frankly, on Bronx Talk this week, I will have 2 mental health experts to talk about those kinds of issues. Once we get past that, I think there will be some benefit to this. In terms of the things you're saying, within people's homes, within their families, a greater understanding, of course, of the importance of good health and nutrition. And we can talk about the economy and the size of it that's undoubtedly going to have to shrink. That's for another day. I do want to talk about, you had done a story about a homeowner assistance program, the whole notion of rent, whether rents should be forgiven. I mean, there's a lot of dialogue, and obviously many, many tens of thousands, millions of people are having, looking at their rent and going, that's the thing I work for, and now I'm not working, I'm not sure what to do. So talk to me a little bit about the story you did on the homeowner assistance program.
Right, this is the Homeowner Protection Program. It's a protection program. It's called HOP. It's been in place since 2012, and it's helped modify mortgages. It's helped homeowners who couldn't get a modification work through foreclosure, basically trying to achieve a soft landing. And I'll say, Gary, this, like many stories, existed before this crisis. People were asking me to write about this, the fact that they may not get funded in this year's state budget. But now a lot of those stories have taken on this angle of COVID-19 and what it means. And it's legit. I mean, it obviously gives the story more heft. But it is true that now we're looking at a potential crisis where many, many more people than would have been the case 2 months ago could be on the verge of foreclosure, could be falling behind in their mortgage payments. And what's interesting about this is that, landlords and others have been saying, if you freeze the rent, what's going to happen to me? I mean, I need that rent to pay bills and so on and so forth. But mortgage modifications approach a place in the economy where there is some slack, where banks have some ability to renegotiate terms and give people a little breathing room. And this program apparently helps to do that. And so it's one of those ways people are coming up with where you find where there is actually some flexibility to achieve what we need, which is basically to unwind some things before they strangle us all.
We're going to need, again, taking a step back and looking at, things as a whole, we're going to need a lot of that sort of compliance or conciliation, if you will, from banks and financial institutions, because if they continue to, pump with extra fees and other requirements, people are just not going to be able to keep up with it. One of the things I noted, and you put an interesting chart of all the counties in the state and how often they use the program. The Bronx wasn't the most, but they served 4,381 clients. I don't know, maybe about third or fourth on the list of all the counties. So this is an important, of course, we're always Bronx centered here. This is an important program for the borough of the Bronx. Future unknown. I mean, nobody knows what's going to be with budgets and everything else. Of course, the state budget is due. Listen, Jarrett, we're going to put on our other hats right now. Maybe part of the same hat is part of media. You have established or are establishing something called Home Remedy. Talk about what is Home Remedy? Who is Home Remedy?
Well, when I got home Wednesday night, March 11th, I started to really feel keenly the idea that we were going to all be so isolated from each other. Friends were talking about not seeing each other for weeks, my children's friends, my personal friends. And it began to really get me down amid the fear of the public health crisis, too, this incredible social isolation. And something I've been able to be part of in the Bronx for a few years is the Bronx music scene. I belong to a band called Fort Indy. I have for, I think, 7 or 8 years now. And we have helped.
And you're hold up your bass. Hold up the bass.
Yeah, this is the bass I've had since I was 16. We've helped to organize some music festivals as part of Make Music New York in the Park every June, really for most of the past decade, if not more, where all these different bands get together, different styles of music, different levels of talent, certainly in my case, not that much of it, and make this beautiful event happen. And I was thinking that's exactly what we need now, but that's exactly what we can't do because we can't get all together. In fact, bands can't even get together. My members and I can't get together. That would be unwise. So we set up a virtual music festival last Thursday night. We had, I think, 5 or 6 acts, different genres, some rock and roll, some funk, some heavy stuff, some folky stuff, some Irish traditional. And this week we're doing it again, Thursday night, Home Remedy. It's on Facebook. You can tune in. It's free. And not all the music is perfect, but the spirit certainly is. And people seem to really respond to the idea that we could be part of it.
And so how does it work? Now, we both know that music in Bronx are like, the same. I mean, there's music everywhere and there's different types of music everywhere. So what do? You get ready to play, or each person weighs in? Like, how does that work?
So basically, we sent out an email to folks who we knew played and were part of our previous summer festivals and said, you want to do this? And most people said yes. Folks set up cameras and we got everybody on one Facebook page. Everyone is an editor of this one page. And we set up a time slot and said, okay, you go at 8:20, I'll go at 8:40. And it was kind of a crap shot last week, but it worked. It put together an event and people really responded. I think it was such a chance for an unexpected form of community in a time when we really, really need it. And I was excited. And this week we're going to have a few more acts. So I'm looking forward.
Oh, so it's Thursdays?
Thursday begins at 8 p.m. This is our second week. We might go on beyond that. I hope we will. But it's Home Remedy at Facebook. If you find me, Jarrett Murphy, on Facebook, you can certainly find it.
And so we really did what we could to make you prove your worth here. And so you brought your bass guitar. Many people don't know this is the first time I've ever done this on either television or radio. I've been in the business for 40 years. I also have my guitar. We both realize we're not going to be able to play together because the timing is it's virtual. It's not reality. So I'm just going to hold the guitar. But Jarrett, you're going to play us something? Or do we sing?
And it's going to get loud, so you guys just cut out whenever you need to. I won't be heard at all.
Oh, you won't be able to hear it. So then we're going to say goodbye. People check out Home Remedy. First of all, check out citylimits.org. and check out Home Remedy. I'm going to say goodbye then, and we'll see you next time on the Bronx Buzz. So we go out with music thanks to Jarrett Murphy for Home Remedy, Thursday nights at 8 o'clock on Facebook. And also thanks to Platon and Victor for the Tito App. On Bronx Talk this week, we're going to talk about a very important topic, and that is mental health, and how do we keep positive, and how do we get through this very difficult situation. We'll do that on Bronx Talk this week. See ya. Good night.